Shabbat Shalom. When I was in middle school, there was a talent show, and I did what any cool middle school kid would do in 2005. I played a song from 1965. It was the Byrds electric guitar version of Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man. You know, like all my friends were listening to at the time. So I threw on my father's leather jacket and Maui Jim sunglasses. I plugged in my Fender Strat and gave Brentwood School my very best Dylan. If you saw the recent film A Complete Unknown, you saw Oscar-nominated Timothée Chalamet do the second best Bob Dylan impression in the last 3 decades. There's a scene in the film where folk icon Pete Seeger is telling a young up-and-coming Bob Dylan that he's clearly been given a unique God-given gift. Our Torah portion this week, Vayakal, calls it Ruach Elohim, being endowed with the Spirit of God, a creative genius. In one of my favorite moments of the film, Seeger tells Dylan a parable about teaspoons, which goes something like this. I imagine a big seesaw, and one end of this seesaw is on the ground with a basket half full of big rocks in it. The other end is up in the air. It's got a basket 1/4 full of sand, and sand keeps leaking out faster than we can fill it back up again. But when there's enough of us, and we all got our teaspoons, and we're all trying to fill up sand, one of these years you'll see that whole seesaw go zoop in the other direction. And people will say, gee, how did it happen so suddenly? Us and all our little teaspoons. In the film, Seeger's talking about expanding the reach and influence of folk music, just poets and their guitars inspiring social change in an era of political turmoil and civil unrest. Recognizing Dylan's prophetic skill, Seeger says, we're all here laboring with our little teaspoons, and you come and bring a shovel. This week's Torah portion seems like it's about the power of certain exceptional individuals to achieve transformative change. God singles out Bezalel, who's blessed with Ruach Elohim, the Spirit of God, to ostensibly be lead architect of the Mishkan, the portable sanctuary God tasks us with building in the wilderness. Like Bob Dylan, Bezalel is truly gifted. We read how he's endowed with a divine spirit of skill, ability, and knowledge to make designs for work in gold, silver, and copper, to carve wood, to work in every kind of designer's craft. In the work of expanding the reach and influence of God's felt presence in the world, it's Bezalel here who brings a shovel. But the closer we look at Vayakal, this week's Torah portion, the quicker we discover that while Bezalel's contributions are critical, and while it's hard to imagine success without him, the construction of the Mishkan is actually the story not of any one gifted individual, but of the many unique gifts of a diverse and vibrant community. Vayakal is about harnessing collective power. It's about engaging everyone in the work of achieving transformative change, because everyone's participation is inherently valuable, necessary, and crucial when attempting to build sacred community. First, it begins with Vayakel Moshe et kol edat b'nei Yisrael. And Moses gathered the whole community of Israel. Vayakel means gather together. It's the first word of the Parsha because we can't build the Mishkan without everyone together. Kol nadiv libo yevieha et trumat Adonai. Everyone whose heart is so moved must bring their gifts to God. It can't only be built with gold and silver and copper, but with utchelet v'argaman, v'tolaat shani v'shesh v'izim. Blue, purple, and crimson yarns, fine linen and goat's hair. A rich tapestry of colors must be woven together to create something vibrant and magnificent. Finally, the invitation to take part in building the sanctuary goes to Kol Chacham Lev Bachem, all the wise-hearted among you, Ha'anashim al Hanashim, men and women. Men and women, the spectrum of colors. In these verses, which call on everyone's shared participation in building the Mishkan, we can almost hear Woody Guthrie, a major influence of both Seeger and Dylan, singing, "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me." Not endowed with the Spirit of God. Thank you. How do we know that the Mishkan can't be built by Bezalel or another gifted craftsman, Oholiab, alone? Because while their contributions are invaluable, they aren't enough. It's only after everyone gets involved that our Parsha uses the language of enough. We read, the artisans said to Moses, "The people are bringing more than is needed." It's a rare victory where we actually follow God's instructions too well. Of all the gifts that are brought, the gold, the silver, the fine linen, it's the women's gifts that merit special attention. V'ya'as et hakiyor nechoshet ve'et kanon nechoshet b'mar'ot hatzovot asher tzavu petach ohel moed. And Bezalel made the laver of copper and its stand of copper from the mirrors of the women who performed tasks at the entrance of the tent of meeting. What are these mirrors that the women bring? The Midrashic collection Midrash Tanchuma tells this story, which brings us back to our enslavement in Egypt. While the men were eating and drinking, taking a break from their harsh labors, the women would take out their mirrors and glance into them with their husbands. They would say, "I am more attractive than you." And the men would reply, "I am more handsomer than you." In that way, they would seduce their husbands to become fruitful and multiply. I'll pause here to say that while this seems like a silly form of flirtation, it's important to remember that slavery demoralizes and dehumanizes. It strips us of the notion that we have any inherent worth and power at all, collective or individual. So when the women take out their brass mirrors and hold them up to see their faces with their husbands, what they're really saying is, "Look at us. We're human beings, not chattel. We're capable and worthy of love. And contrary to the darkest desires of our enemies, there should be more of us." Returning to the Midrash, when the Holy Blessed One told Moses to build the tabernacle, all the Israelites brought their contributions. Some brought silver, others brought gold or copper or onyx stones or unset stones. They brought everything eagerly. The women asked themselves, "What contribution can we make to the sanctuary?" They arose, took their mirrors, and brought them to Moses. When Moses saw them, he became angry with them. After all, the mirrors had been used for seduction. What place could they possibly have in the holy tent of meeting, in the holy sacred tabernacle? The Holy Blessed One called out to Moses, "Moses, do you mistreat the women because of these? These very mirrors are dearer to me than all the other contributions, because through them they produced the hosts of Israelites in Egypt. Take them and make a basin of brass and its base for the priests, that they may sanctify the priests from it." With the mirrors, which Moses deemed dirty, the people build the basin where the priests wash their hands, purifying themselves before entering to officiate in the temple. In a moment of misunderstanding, in the attempt to protect our sacred Mishkan, Moses rejects the women's gifts, almost nullifying their participation in building the tabernacle, until God steps in and says, "Actually, these gifts are dearer to me than all the other contributions." In the attempt to protect our most cherished institutions, we might make the same mistake of underestimating the value of everyone's participation. Maybe that's why the end, at the very heart of the Mishkan, are two cherub statues facing each other. God appears to us, we're told, in the space where two faces meet. It's why the most precious contributions are mirrors, to see the face of ourselves and other human beings and remember that we're all created in God's image. Remember that each of us is a reflection of God in the world. And that to exclude any one of us from the project of building sacred community is to do no less than diminish God. The building of the Mishkan, then, atones not only for the golden calf, when we used our gold and precious gifts not to create a home for God, but to worship an idol, it also atones for the Tower of Babel, where the Midrash tells us we got so caught up in the project itself, building this tower to heaven, that when a human worker fell off and died, we couldn't be bothered to stop. But when a brick fell off and was shattered, everyone stopped to mourn the loss of a precious brick. That's the danger our rabbis warn of putting project over people. In response to the Tower of Babel, where bricks were more valued than human beings, God confounds our language and scatters us across the earth. But in response to the tabernacle, where everyone's unique gifts are valued, and we truly see the face of another human being, God's glory fills the Mishkan. If Vayakel is about harnessing collective power and engaging everyone in the work of achieving transformative change, then I want to end with one final story, which may now sound very familiar. It's called The Order of the Teaspoon. I first heard it in a sermon delivered by one of my rabbis back home, Rabbi Sharon Brous, who wasn't quoting Pete Seeger, but instead celebrated contemporary Israeli writer Amos Oz, who writes, "I believe that if one person is watching a huge calamity, let's say a conflagration, a fire, there are always three principal options. Number one, run away, as far away and as fast as you can, and let those who cannot run burn. 2, write a very angry letter to the editor of your paper demanding that the responsible people be removed from office with disgrace, or for that matter, launch a demonstration. Then there's 3, bring a bucket of water and throw it on the fire. And if you don't have a bucket, bring a glass. And if you don't have a glass, use a teaspoon. Everyone has a teaspoon. And yes, I know a teaspoon is little and the fire is huge, but there are millions of us, and each one of us has a teaspoon. Now, I would like to establish the order of the teaspoon. People who share my attitude, not the runaway attitude or the letter attitude, but the teaspoon attitude. I would like them to walk around wearing a little teaspoon on the lapel of their jackets so that we know that we are in the same movement and the same order, the order of the teaspoon. It's very tempting to feel powerless when confronted with the many fires we face in our lives, in our country, and in our world today. It's very tempting to say, there's no room left on our lapels, where our yellow hostage ribbons remind us of the biggest conflagration our people has faced since the Shoah. But Vayakel teaches us that we aren't powerless. There's always hope. We can build and preserve our Mishkan, our sacred institutions like the synagogue, like democracy, so long as everyone participates. Moses almost excludes one group whose gifts end up being God's favorite, mirrors, to help us see each other's humanity more clearly, to remind us that no one is just another brick, but a reflection of God. And when we all bring our shovels, our buckets, our glasses, our teaspoons, our gold, our silver, our blue, purple, and crimson yarn, our brass mirrors, our own unique gifts, big and small, we tap into a collective power so great it summons God. Only a select few of us are endowed with Ruach Elohim, with the Spirit of God. Only a select few of us get to be Bezalel or Bob Dylan. But every one of us gets to listen and to hear for all the unique and different ways that God speaks to and through us. Only a select few of us are endowed with Ruach Elohim, but all of us are created B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God. And all of us have teaspoons. Shabbat Shalom.